Hi everyone, welcome to another Tea With Me Tuesday. It's been kind of a quiet day today. We didn't do too much. And believe it or not, I usually drink about 5 cups of tea a day. This is only my second. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyway, I hope you all had a good week, and I hope that everyone was good to you and that you did a little something for yourself. You know, it's so important for us to do things for ourselves at our age, and I'm speaking of the over 50 ladies, actually any age, but I think the younger ones already have it figured out. But in the over, maybe even over 60 group, we were always raised to give, and we were last, our husbands, our children, and then we came last. And that's the way I was raised, to keep the peace in the home. Make sure your husband is happy, make sure your children, are well fed and looked after. But, and in a way, I think it either broke us as women or it made us very, very strong. And I think I'm fortunate that I was raised with strong women influences in my life. Women who had to do what they had to do, widowed young, and had to deal with life on their own. And that was my experiences. My grandmother lost her husband. He was only 58. And my father passed away, he was only 62. So both my grandmother, my dad's mom, and my mom, both had to kind of, guide or find their own way in life. And the difference being that, both of them lost their husbands when their children were older. So there's a big difference there. But still, my mom's mom lived and raised her children almost on her own. My grandfather, after he came back from the war, my mom's dad, was not the same. He was bitter, I think. He was angry. He had PSD or whatever it's called. Post-traumatic something syndrome. Sorry. And anyway, and he drank and he was abusive to my grandmother, not to the children, just to my grandmother. And she left and had to live on her own, make her own way. Now, this is a woman who could neither read nor write. My grandmother came from a very, very poor background. She could neither read nor write. She eventually, I remember when I was really young, when she had to sign things, she had a specific X she used to do. And I think one of my grand aunts or cousins or somebody taught her to write her name, because I remember she could write her name. And she must have done that when she was in her 70s. And because she passed away, she was 92. And she always lived alone. She had friends, but she went out every day. She lived in Montreal. She went out every day, did the meager groceries that she did. She looked after herself. So these are women that always lived without men. So growing up, I never thought that I had to have a man in my life to fulfill my life, to identify myself. However, growing up as a young girl, you want to get married and have children and, all of those things that in the 50s, 60s. That's, kind of the way we thought, coming back from the 40s from our parents. And yes, I did get married, and I was married for 13 years, and I had my daughter, and we adopted my son. And but it wasn't a good match. And I can't say anything bad about him because he has turned his life around and seems to be a good person. And I think if I hadn't been, of course, we could always do these what ifs, if I had done this, if I had done that. I think there was a bit of a stubborn streak in me that I can do it myself. If you're not going to be a partner with me, I'll do it myself. And he agreed that, I was a better parent than he was. I think he just, he was at an age where he had thought that he could be that free. He saw a lot of his single friends dating and doing, and anyway, it was a long, 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 long time ago. Believe me, it was a long, long time ago. So, so being raised the way I was raised, where, if there was a man in your life, you gave your life to your men and to your children, and made sure even if you worked, you still made sure your home was done, that your fridge was full, your kids were full and clothed, and all of those things. The super mom. And basically we were super moms. We were super women. And we didn't identify ourselves that way, but we were super women. We did it all, whether it was out of necessity or whether it's out of desire. We did do it all. We had the home, we had the job, we had the children, we had what we had. Later in life, as I grew older, and I think the only thing that pushed me to continue working, I always wanted to be home with my children. I wanted to be home to raise them. Now, thank goodness, they were a little bit, they weren't babies, but they weren't, they were around 8 and 10 years old when we divorced, but around those ages. And, I really, really wanted to be home with them. I wanted to raise my children, and I couldn't. I had to work. And the only reason I stayed working was because the job I had a very good pension benefit, and a lot of benefits, health benefits, a lot of benefits for my children. And I paid for it, mind you, out of my paycheck, but it was, a meager amount, but every month. And it was my safety net. And when I retired, I realized that all those years, I was always looking after someone else. And even now, in my old age, I'm looking after my mother. Roles have reversed. And that's okay. But I realized that one of the things that I love about the young girls today is that they do take that time. There's date night with your husband. There's spa days with yourself, or girlfriends' days out, or whatever. And I never took the time, probably because I was tired, probably because I didn't have time. My social time was at work, during my lunch hour with my girlfriends, during my breaks. That was kind of my girlfriend time. The occasional time I would go out, which was very rare. I think maybe once or twice a year, which was really too bad because I was just, consumed with keeping security and the home life as best I could. And of course, dealing with teenagers and the troubles that they go through. And that was very difficult for me, because I thought my children were perfect. And of course, they had their own things to deal with growing up and only having a mom around, and dad was not around and he wasn't. So it was difficult for them as well. But in all of the problems, in all of the life things, the one thing that I didn't do as much as I should have was to look after myself and to do things for myself. And I'm finding, even though now, I'm in my late 60s and I'm looking after my elderly mom, and my children are fine. They both have their families. They're old enough now to deal with their own lives without me being there for them all the time, although I am there for them all the time. But it's only been lately that I started doing things for myself. I like to do crafting. That's something I do for myself. And I take a little bit more time. Mom goes to bed really early, so I have those hours of not worrying. She's in bed, she's having a good sleep, and I have the hours from, say, 8 o'clock until whenever to not worry about Mom, not worry about what she's going to be eating, if she's getting out enough in fresh air, and all of those things. And it's my time to do things for me. YouTube is what I do for me. This is my therapy. This is my, keeping in touch with all of you and sharing my life and sharing some of the good and bad things that go on. And crafting is a good creative outlet for me. And I'm wondering how many of you who do not do YouTube and who do not do crafting, or if you do very little, how do you spend your time looking after you? What do you do to spoil yourself? What do you do? And I think we've talked about this because it sounds so familiar to me. My kitty was over here meowing. What do you do for yourself? And, even if it's the littlest thing, we need to do that. We need to look after ourselves. And I just thought I would come on today and just sort of talk about that, talk about, even my doctor, when we went to see her last week, she said, "Are you looking after yourself?" And to be honest with you, I had to think about it. And I said, well, Mom goes to bed early and I have my time alone. I can't go out, although I probably could go out because, for a couple of hours because Mom is in bed sleeping. She's not a baby that, or a child that would do something that she's not supposed to do. Mom would just, she would just sleep. She rarely gets up. Maybe around 2 or 3 in the morning, she might get up and go to the bathroom, but she doesn't get up very often, especially the first couple of hours. So technically I could go out. It's a safe apartment here, and everything is good for her here. And she does have her phone, although she's forgotten how to use it. And I used to do that once in a while. Before Mom got a little worse with her memory, I used to go out for about an hour or so. Sometimes I would just go to the corner store. Sometimes just go for a drive for about 5 minutes and come back. But just those little things, for myself. Sometimes I would just sit in the car, listen to music, to do things for myself. But I don't feel deprived. I don't feel deprived at all. I don't feel like I am missing out on anything because I'm not. I was always a homebody. I was never, a going out kind of girl. Oh, I just split my nail. Change the subject, squirrel. When my nails get too long, they tend to split right down there. And I'm picking at it. I'm going to have to fix it. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to come on and chat with you, see how your week was. I had a really creative week. I think I showed them in my videos. I had a lot of fun creating some new things that I enjoyed. I enjoy doing new things. I get tired of the same old. I'm not very good at a lot of stuff, but I do like trying something new, and I do like, uh, whether it works out or not, it does, or it doesn't. That's okay. But I had a lot of fun this week with my crafts, and as I said, I've already posted them, so you've seen those. But I just wanted to kind of, come on and chat with you, have my cup of tea, my quiet time tonight, and just, talk about the how fortunate I feel that I was raised by strong women. I was raised loving family life, loving men, loving homes and relatives and things like that, and duty and all of those kind of things. But I was raised by strong women. I was raised that I could do anything that needed to be done, whether it be, fix a toaster or computer or printer or whatever it may be. If a man could do it, I could do it. I never even thought of it that way, but it's just, it needed to be done. Somebody's got to do it. You do it. If you don't know how to do it, get someone to fix it for you. But I never really thought about getting someone to fix it for you. The only thing would be like the car. In the old days, I would be able to do little things, but not today. Not with the way the cars are computerized today. There's no way I could do any of those things. But, oil changes and changing batteries, and there was air filters and spark plugs, things like that. I mean, I could easily have done those things, but today, I open the hood and I didn't even want to look. The only thing I do when I open the hood is fill the window washer fluid. That's it. That's all I do. The rest, I bring it to the shop, let them deal with it. That's their job. They were trained to do that. Let them do that. That's one less thing I have to do. But I wonder how many of you had the same kind of upbringing where you had to do for yourself. I often wonder. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that tonight. I thought I would just share a couple of my thoughts today. I had many thoughts. I had other issues I wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to get heavy. I wanted it to be light and share my feelings and share that I'm pretty lucky. I'm pretty lucky. I have 2 good children. My grandsons are amazing. All grandmothers say that, but you know what? There is absolutely nothing more rewarding after a hard life than to have grandchildren and to love them and play with them on the floor, play games, spark their imagination, make them laugh. I want my grandchildren to remember me with a smile. I want them to remember that my nanny rolled on the ground with them, chased them, played games, challenged their mind, questioned things, brought them interesting things to do. That's what I want to be remembered as. I wonder what you would want your grandchildren, if you have any, or even if you don't, if you had grandchildren, what would you want them to remember you? How would you want them to remember you? And I hope that they will know that they're my heart and that I love them so much. And my children, I am so proud of them. We had hard times alone, teenagers. It was a tough time. But I've grown to be impressed by them, to be proud of them, and to brag about them. I love to brag about them. They came from a hard time and they made it, and I'm very proud of them. Anyway, enough bragging. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful week, And thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.